Hi, everybody. This is Margie Meacham back for another issue of the Brain Matters podcast. Today, I have with me Elizabeth Jameson. She is an artist and a lawyer, and what she is doing is exhibiting her amazing work in Harvard, Yale, Princeton, other major universities throughout the world. What she's focused on is she shows us the imperfect body and how much beauty there can still be in that imperfection. And she uses her own diagnosis of MS as the inspiration for her art. So thank you, Elizabeth. I'm really glad to have you here today. Fascinated by your art. Let's start with that. When did you first realize you wanted to be an artist?
I first realized I wanted to be an artist after I was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. I was a courtroom lawyer doing work on behalf of poor people and disadvantaged children, and I love my legal practice, and I always wanted to be a social activist, and that's why I chose law. And then I had a major MS event. At that time, I didn't know it was MS. I lost my ability to talk, so I was aphasic. And when I started the long climb to be able to talk, I knew I couldn't be a courtroom lawyer anymore. So then I sort of went into shock, like, what am I going to do with my life? Because I always felt that I wanted to do something with my life that would change the world or have some meaning in my life. I grew up Catholic and I was taught by nuns. So my inspiration was from my background as a former Catholic and the inspiration of the nuns who taught me. And so I went through this shock of what am I going to do if I can't be a public interest lawyer. And I was invited to go to a community art class, which I didn't want to do. I never have done art in my life, never had a paintbrush, and I went kicking and screaming to this community art class, and I fell in love. I can't, I know it sounds dramatic, but I knew in my soul or something said, this is what I need to do. And I love the smell of the paint. I love the ability to create with my hands. So I knew that's what I was going to do. I didn't know it the day before, but I knew it from that day on. And that's how I became an artist. And then I got bored. I went to art school and I thought I became not necessarily good, but competent. And I was doing interesting landscapes and portraits. And then I thought, gee, is that helping the world? There's so many artists who could do it better than me. And I said, no, I want to do something for other people and something that will be equivalent to be a public interest lawyer. So I went back into my office. I thought, what am I going to do? So I looked in the corner of my office. At that time, that was 20 years ago, there were stacks of MRIs in the corner of my office. They're hard, plastic MRIs. I thought, that's what I need to do. Turn these ugly technological scientific scans of my own brain that I hated, didn't want to look at, stuck in the corner, filled with dust, thinking, why don't I take the MRIs and do something with with it. I didn't know what I could do, so I spent 3 years interviewing other artists, thinking, what can I do with these images of my brain? And long story short, I came up with what's called solar etching. So I etch my brain scans, and half my artistic practice involves my own brain and reinterpreting the images to make it more accessible to patients and also scientists and physicians, to so to allow people to view the imperfect brain. And my brain is really imperfect, but beautiful and ugly and scary and not scary. So I wanted images that invited people to actually stare at their MRIs and with curiosity and maybe delight and beauty and all sorts of other things. Looking, same thing, whether you're talking about the brain or breast scans for people with breast cancer or whatever illnesses that involve technology in terms of scanning. There can be just spectacularly beautiful and also ugly and scary. So I didn't want to have art that just involved smiley faces, but involved interest, curiosity, and fascination with the imperfect body, and for me in particular, the imperfect brain. And I've continued in this practice of investigating what would be something that I could contribute to the conversation about illness and chronic disease. And my MS impacts my voice, so I'm going to take a sip of coffee and hopefully it'll make me be able to talk better. 1 second.
Okay. And while you're taking that sip, Elizabeth, thank you for sharing that. I think it's a really powerful story. And you answered a whole bunch of my questions as you were telling it. No, that's great. So let me ask you this. We're going to share with our listeners an image of one of your pieces. Can you tell us more about the piece that you've chosen to share and how you've changed it from just a scientific artifact into a work of art?
What I do, I take my MRIs. Oh, my voice is terrible. I'm so sorry. I take the images and I burn them into copper plates, take them into the printing studio and add just luxurious French printing inks that are very sensuous. And for me anyway, I love getting my hands really dirty with this gorgeous Charbonnel inks and take these stark black and white images and transforming the images with color and design, and to make it fascinating. Hopefully fascinating to me, hopefully fascinating to other people. So again, I don't want to be smiling faces, but I want to think they're beautiful. I think I look at images of my brain. I think, oh my God, the brain actually has a heart, an image that we consider heart-like, and it's positive. Another image that one of my favorite is it's the corpus callosum, and it's you're staring at the brain and then emerging out into outer space. To me, it's exciting and curious, and my goodness, the geography, the landscape of the brain is really interesting. And because of my work, some of my best friends now are neuroscientists from throughout the world, and they really have encouraged me and helped me expand my work. And they have really been excited also by using art, color, design to really open up the discussion of the brain so that people aren't as intimidated by looking at the structures of the brain. And the imperfect brain, we're all imperfect, and some of us are luckier to have imperfections later in life. Some of us have it early in life, but we all have imperfect bodies. So my mission is to create art that invites conversation about what does it mean to have imperfect bodies. And my artistic practice now has now involved a new mission. In addition to creating art, I'm now trying to work on the narrative of illness. So I'm been meeting with 2 hospitals and trying to find the ability so that people could record their stories, so that their illness can have an honor, have beauty in the story. So I would like people with cancer, MS, or other life-threatening diseases or chronic diseases to tell their stories, because I think the illness has really been swept under the rug in our society. It's not very socially acceptable to talk about your diseases with interest and fascination, as well as the negative sides. And I would like people to come out of the closet, so to speak, with their diseases or their imperfections to make it a part of life. So I don't know if the readers know about StoryCorps, but the ability to record your stories. And I would like to have the ability, if that's at all possible, in the clinical setting. That's my new mission, is to open up the dialogue so that people feel honored to record their stories, to know that their stories are interesting and important.
Yeah, I love what you're talking about, Elizabeth. It's funny you mentioned outer space and the brain, the inner landscape, because one of the things I love to tell people is that there are about as many neurons in your brain as there are in the Milky Way galaxy. And so when you look out at the stars, picture that whole world as the neurons firing, a light show inside your brain. So it really is. It's beautiful and terrifying at the same time. So I'm not surprised that I was captivated by your art, and I'm sure many people will be too. So let's say that somebody is listening right now and they'd really like to learn more about your art and maybe purchase some of it. Where can they go?
Oh, well, I'm sorry, my voice is
No worries. Take your
I'm
time.
taking a sip of tea. I have tea on my desk and coffee. They're my saviors in terms of my voice. MS, it really affects the voice. Now it's better. I just took some caffeine, so I'm high on drugs. My caffeine helps me talk. Um, I um, Number one, I do my art not necessarily to make money. My art is really trying to serve other people, and um, I just feel like my duty in life is to help other people. But my artwork can be viewed, and I do. Uh, I can um, people can have access to whatever images they want at my website, jamesonfineart.com. So it's Jameson, Jameson, fineart.com. And
Okay. Go ahead.
that's it.
Okay. Okay, great. Well,
I just would love to have people view my work. And I'm also doing a blog introducing other artists who have done similar journeys. So I'm not the only one, but I think I'm one of the few who right now have done the brain. But I'd love to have other artists, other children, other people with diseases to just dive in to see who in their family has there been MRIs. Look at the MRIs and make it beautiful or make it interesting, if not beautiful.
well, I can just say personally, once you look at one of Elizabeth's creations, you will never think about the brain in the same way again. So thank you for sharing that. And I think you are making a powerful statement and you are having an impact on the world. So I feel really honored to have had you on here and to share you with my listeners. So what's next for you, Elizabeth? What is the next thing you're going to work on?
Well, I'm actually, my voice is giving out. My newest excitement, I'm going to be doing a TEDx talk in April this year, which I'm absolutely thrilled to do. And been one of my lifelong dreams is to open up the conversation to everyone, thinking about other ways we can create interest in the imperfect body. And my other thing I'm working with hospitals and clinics in trying to have a StoryCorps in clinical settings, as I said, to invite more conversation, more narrative of illness.
Okay, I can't wait to see that, and congratulations on your TEDx talk. When you finish it, please let me know, and I'll share it with everybody. I'm sure
I will. Thank you.
Yeah.
And I'm honored to be invited to be a part of your whole setting of conversations.
Thank you. And everybody,
Thank
you've been
you.
listening to me, Margie Meacham, and artist Elizabeth Jameson. We thank you for your time and attention, and please join us for our next Brain Matters podcast soon.